إن الحمد لله الواحد الأحد. إن الحمد لله الفرد الصمد. Blessed is Allah. Blessed is Allah who gathered us here to remember and worship Him. أحمده سبحانه وتعالى وأستغفره وأستهديه وأعوذ بالله العلي العظيم من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. أما بعد فيا عباد الله اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس لما قدمت لغد إن الله كان بكم خبيرا. Remember Allah. Remember what we have set forth for the day of meeting Him. واعلموا أن خير الكلام كلام الله عز وجل وأن خير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأن شر الأمور محدثاتها وأن كل محدثة بدعة وأن كل بدعة ضلالة وأن كل ضلالة في النار والعياذ بالله. Dear brothers and sisters, today I thought I will be talking about what it means to be a Muslim. We all know the 5 pillars that are required from us. We all know that we are supposed to pray 5 times a day. We all know that we are supposed to fast in the month of Ramadan, that we are supposed to give zakat or charity, and that we are supposed to go for Hajj. This is what makes a Muslim. But today I wanted to take a closer look at these requirements. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to pray. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he described prayer, he said, what about if you have a river that is close to you and you go and you wash yourself within 5 times a day? Wouldn't you become pure? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about prayer, He says, establish prayer, because prayer prevents you from all that is evil. When we fast Ramadan, it teaches us patience. It teaches us patience because we are refraining from eating and drinking until the time that it is okay to eat and drink. When we give our zakat or our charity, we give it to show gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to help our human beings who are in need. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about the Hajj, the pilgrimage, He said you go to Hajj so that you can witness things that are good for you. These are the rituals of Islam. But today, I'm going to be talking about the goals of Islam. These rituals are exercises for us to do what is required by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put us on this earth not just to pray and not just to fast, but to establish good on this earth. These are exercises for us to grow. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala finds other ways for us to grow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that He will inflict us with calamities. He will inflict us with difficulties. He will inflict us with losses of life and wealth. Why does He do that? He tells us that I do this to you so you that grow, that your spiritual inside becomes stronger, that you move forward to do the purpose of life, which is to establish the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth. And what is the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth? Love of Allah and love of the creatures. You cannot do this unless you're well equipped. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us these things. Last week, we lost our musalla, our masjid. It wasn't burnt, but it's not usable anymore. We basically lost our gym, but we didn't lose our community. We lost the place we are to exercise in, but our exercises are not going to stop from happening. You see, basically, the way I'm thinking about this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting together a team. To talk in a sports sense. This team here is supposed to go and play the game. And the game is to eradicate evil from this earth, to establish good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about the Muslims, He says, كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ لِلنَّاسِ تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. What makes you a nation? What makes us here any different than anybody else? It is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us to establish good and forbid evil. Some of us in this team are born into the team. But the team sometimes needs strengthening. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in sports sense, He recruits. He recruits players, can improve the ability of us to win this game. To give you just fast examples of like what's happening in this country or what happened in this country. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recruited Malcolm X. He recruited Muhammad Ali. He recruited Hamza Yusuf. He recruited Zaid Shakir because the team was weak. And the team needs fresh, strong players. You look at our society. You look at the group that's sitting here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recruited Brother Frank. He recruited Brother Brendan. He recruited Brother Ken. He recruited Brother Eddie. Why? Do you think these things are happening by chance? You don't think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in His great wisdom, does things according to the plan, according to the game that is on hand? Brother Ken joins us and he helps us in the plans for the masjid. Brother Eddie joins us and he helps us in our website, and so on and so forth. this team is not one team. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, by His wisdom, recruited many groups to play this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sent Moses. And He sent Isa. And then He sent Muhammad. Basically, the main point here is that the final and greatest thing that you can do on earth is establishment of haqq. What is haqq? Haqq is truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about this in the Quran, ومن أمة موسى من يأمرون بالحق وبه يعدلون. And from the people of Moses, there is a group that establishes haqq, and with it they run their affairs. And then in another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمِمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا أُمَّةٌ يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْحَقِّ وَبِهِ يَعْدِلُونَ. Meaning that even from others, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established people who establish truth on this earth. And then it comes to us Muslims. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say that we establish haqq. What he says is a little bit more difficult of an order. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. And let there be. This is an order. It's not in the past tense. It is not that something that already happened, but it is something that you and I here needs to do. And let there be. Actually, it is more like there shall be, because the Arabic is very emphatic here. And let there be from among you a nation that establishes, who call to Allah, who call to God, who call to all that is good, who enjoin right conduct and forbid what is wrong. If we don't answer the call of Allah, what good is it that we call ourselves Muslims? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I put you and do this. Are we doing? Or are we obeying the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? These are difficult times. These are difficult times in the history of mankind. These are difficult times in the United States. These are difficult times for our communities. But we have to rise and answer the call. Some people are maybe afraid. Why are they afraid? Because they're going to have registration. They're going to have to register the Muslims. And you know what? I don't care if they register the Muslims, because I have already registered myself. We have already registered by ourselves with Allah that we are Muslims. Because as Muslims, we are not afraid. As Muslims, we should have hikmah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I don't know if I'm sure Brother Yama in his classes mentioned these, the 4 cardinal virtues. The easiest way to remember it: Ha, Sheen, Ain, Ain. The first one is hikmah, or wisdom. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Ud'u ila rabbika bil-hikmati wal-maw'izati al-hasana. Wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan." Call unto you the way of your Lord with wisdom and good advice. The second is courage. Why are we afraid? Why are we afraid if we are on the truth? Why are we afraid? You know, courage actually is the fountainhead of all that is good. When you're asked to donate, when you're asked to participate, you have to have courage. You know, the generous is the one who's not afraid from being poor. And the miserly is the one who is afraid that he's going to lose his wealth. The generous is the one, the courageous one is the one who is not afraid to stand up and say the truth. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about striving in His way, when He talks about jihad, which it means striving in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say about that? What is the pinnacle of jihad? The peak of jihad, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, كلمة حق عند سلطان جائر. A truthful word, a strong word of truth in front of a tyrant dictator. These are difficult times. But we shouldn't walk away. We shouldn't forget the saying that when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. We need to work at this. Look at what's happening. Look at what's happening around us. Mosques are starting to be burned. Muslim activists are being threatened with assassinations. Synagogues are being threatened by bombing. Cemeteries are being desecrated. Women are losing their rights. Where is the team? What are we waiting for to work? Nobody is going to help us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does He say in the Quran? Allah does not change the status of the people until they change what's within their side, what's in the heart. Because Iman, belief, is something that comes from the heart. It's not the talk. It's not just enough to say I am a mu'min, but you have to act like a mu'min. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that Allah never looks at your shapes. He never looks at your colors. He never looks at your wealth. He looks at what's in your heart. What is in our hearts? We say we're afraid of, what do you call them? Concentration camps. That we are afraid of being put in concentration camps. But look what's happening right now to our brothers and sisters in humanity. They are collecting all these so-called illegal aliens and putting them in these detention center camps. Well, they're concentration camps, that's what they are. They're gathering them, they're separating them from their children. Are we going to wait until we get put in concentration camps? People are being shot in the street. Young black people are being shot day in, day out. Are we going to wait until we get shot at before we do something about it? You look at if you watch the news, when Trump was asked about the threats to the synagogues, what was his answer? His answer was, I'm going to keep America safe. I'm going to get rid of crime. And he didn't say anything about the Jews. Let me translate that to you. I'm going to make America safe by deporting the Muslims. I'm going to make America safe by stopping them from coming here. I'm going to stop crime. Because before that he says all these immigrants are nothing but rapists and thieves. He's gonna make the country crime-free by getting rid of them. And then he stopped about the Jews. And I don't know if that is good or bad, even worse. We have to work hard, brothers and sisters. It's not just the center we're talking about. It's our community. It is our humanity that is at stake here. We have to be active. This is what Allah orders. This is what Allah made us Muslims for. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put us on this earth. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العلي العظيم لي ولكم.